Michael Springmann is here at D.C. Bureau to share his employment experience at the State Department from 1987 to 1989. Springmann issued visas in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. According to Springmann, he soon found out that most Americans at the consulate were actually with the CIA, not the State Department. Springmann says his boss, the American Consul General Jay Freres, demanded that he grant visas for people who wouldn't normally qualify. Visa candidates are supposed to be able to show motivation to return to their home country.
And I had been part of a program to issue visas under questionable circumstances to a variety of people who had no ties either to their own country or to Saudi Arabia. It was really a program to recruit and train terrorists to come to the United States for training and then be sent back to Afghanistan for use in the war against the then Soviet Union. And part of the mix was Osama bin Laden, who was then working for the CIA as an asset to recruit people from all over the Middle East and North Africa and South Asia. People coming to me like Jay Freres, Henry Ensher, the political officer supposedly, and others saying, well, it's your decision, of course, Mike, but, we've got this guy who's a good contact and we really need a visa for him. And you can refuse it if you want. Well, after a couple of months of this, it was issue the visa or else. Why did you deny this guy a visa? What is wrong with you? Don't you understand what's going on here? But by and large, these were folks that, like the King's Secretary's barber, who had been in the country for a couple of months and suddenly wanted to go to the United States. Or two Pakistanis who were going to a trade show in the United States but couldn't name the trade show or the city where it was located. Other people I refused, aside from the odd nurse and whatever who were Chinese and Japanese and Filipino who wanted to come to the United States and get a job the minute they got off the airplane. By and large, the people had low-level jobs. They were, clerks in a grocery store. They worked at a gas station. They couldn't explain what they were doing here, meaning in Saudi Arabia. They had no real reason for going to the United States. An Afghan, I remember one time, he wanted to go to New York and visit his money. And I said, that's no reason for going to the United States. Well, I didn't know what brand of Islam they practiced, but figuring that they came from Saudi Arabia, which is dominated by the Wahhabi sect. The Wahhabis, it's pretty much like the Puritans of 17th century Britain, that they didn't hold with drinking, dancing, gambling, and anything else. Well, what is this, Jean? What's going on? She says, well, Jay Freres just likes to give candy to babies. Freres had been recruited or part of the CIA when he had been assigned to Kabul, Afghanistan. And I thought it was very strange that Freres was a driving force behind this visas program that was so peculiar. Went by, I learned that I was a minority in the consulate. There were only 3 people that I knew of, including myself, that were truly State Department Foreign Service officers or employees of the State Department. The rest, they work for the CIA, they work for the National Security Agency. Once, Justice Stevens issued a visa to a Sudanese who was a refugee from the Sudan in Saudi Arabia and was unemployed in Saudi Arabia. And Karen Sasahara, Henry Ensher's successor, who I'm pretty sure worked for the agency, said, well, we need him. And I said, well, why? He can't explain why he's going to America, and if he's unemployed here, what's going to bring him back? He has no job. Well, we need him. And I kept refusing and refusing. So Justice Stevens issued the visa. And I saw him in the corridor in the main building. And I said, Justice, what was the reason for giving this guy the visa? He goes, national security. It got to the point where people would come to the window with a stack of passports from the company they worked for and say, well, look, we want these visas. And I said, well, I don't know. It depends on their qualifications and so on. Well, you can issue the visa now or later on when Jay Freres tells you to. What's it going to be? I got a notice in the mail saying that my appointment at the State Department was being terminated because I just didn't measure up. And I talked to the people, Travis Moran, who said, well, I had a personality conflict with the Consul General. And the Inspector General's office couldn't be bothered either. I went to the Government Accounting Office, which is now the Government Accountability Office, and they had an office at State, and they couldn't be bothered.